Welcome to DevReady podcast, where we're helping non-techs build great tech. Today, joined by Tyler Lubben. He is the founder owner of Relentless Labs. Now, the topic of conversation today is going to be all around how we drive data to support sales, how might we scrape big data off the internet, Reddit, etc.'s of the world to really get an understanding of our ICP in terms of how we might communicate to them, engage with them, and even influence, find problems that exist in the market space potentially. Tyler, thank you for joining us, and I'm sure it'll be a fun topic.
Yeah, no, and my goal is to give some unique creative angles and ways of using data that probably a lot of people haven't even thought of yet. So hopefully it'll be an interesting one.
Pretty sure you've already given me some things that I haven't really thought about. So let's talk that a bit. Before we jump into the hows and the whats, tell us a bit about you, Tyler.
Sure,
Tell me a bit
sure.
about your
Yeah. So
background and yourself to the audience.
I started out my career doing Tableau consulting. So I did that for about 8 years, and then when AI came out, I was like, that they're going to be able to do some dashboards really quick. And so I jumped into AI and technology. I didn't even know how, and I didn't even know Python at that point. So I learned Python. I learned how to do like pretty much everything from just 3 years. It was cool because like AI taught me how to do everything, right? And so it was one of those things where I learned it and it taught me how to actually use it. And so the last few years I've been in technology pretty much the whole time, and trying to figure out how do I infuse technology with analytics and intelligence, because you can do a lot of creative things when you merge the three. And that's when Relentless Labs was kind of born.
Yeah, it's a fascinating world. Tableau consulting. Yeah, I imagine that's a lot quicker these days to build something out, like you said. So good forward
Well,
thinking for yourself there.
yeah, but it
yeah,
is it's
yeah,
actually
yeah,
it's still a very high demand because of the
mm,
creativity in it. And
yeah.
that's always been kind of what kept me alive when, everyone was trying to go overseas and trying to outsource, was because you had to have three key parts. You had to be really good at analytics, you had to be able to design like a graphic designer, and you got to understand the business from like a consultant standpoint. And those three things was kind of a unique combination in one person. And so it's still actually, I thought it would be a lot harder, or like it would get a lot more competitive, but it's kind of staying true.
Yeah, that's fascinating, isn't it? Yeah, sometimes we think forward, but yeah, the reality is you need to understand the business, like you said, to be able to deliver outcomes. If you just build me a dashboard, yeah, what are we going to build? What relevance is that going to be? So it's a fair point.
Yeah.
So let's jump in a little bit in terms of what you've been doing with AI. You mentioned you've self-taught a lot of this stuff yourself. What's been the path for you in terms of jumping into the
Yeah.
world of what's going
So
in AI?
more recently, I've really been trying to figure out how to use, I call it audience intelligence, which I thought that was a term and it wasn't a term. And so to me, audience intelligence is I'm looking for like Reddit discussions, comments on like YouTube videos or TikTok videos. So like wherever people live and they just talk their mess and like they don't care who's looking, right? Because like on LinkedIn and all that, it's all fake. Everyone has a mask on.
it's,
Like
it's
it's just a
true.
bunch
Yeah,
of
it's just people
like
putting sales
yeah,
or
and so
anything
it's
that's
like
positioned to be able to influence people there in their network.
man,
That's all it is. Yeah, it's
it
not
is
really.
horrible now. Like I
Yeah,
really don't even know what is social media. Like it's just like I feel like there's just this void that's happening right now where there is not really anything social. There's really like it's just a bunch of mess. Like I feel like everything's gonna go to private communities pretty soon, because yeah, it's just crazy. So for me, like Reddit is where like people are like talking just raw, and for me, I just kind of learned Reddit this last year, and I love the whole like karma system. And for me, like just knowing last year, like everyone's like, yeah, it's not the same as like 3 or 4 years ago, but I'm like, it's still like the best thing out right now. But because you have like the community kind of like self regulates itself, and so on LinkedIn, you can go and do thought leadership posts and just blow up everyone's feed. If you do that on Reddit, like people are gonna start downvoting you. If you try to like self promote, people are gonna start down. If you don't know what you're really talking about, people, and so there's this whole like peer, like kind of a self police kind of thing happening that just makes it authentic. And so people are really being themselves on and asking real questions and giving real feedback. And I'm trying to figure out how I can use that information, and I call it like weaponized audience intelligence. Like, how can I weaponize that for some other things? It's kind of like the path that I've been going on. Have you kind of, I guess, is Reddit big over there?
Not really. Jump into it here and there and have a look around, but yeah, it's not massive in terms of the ecosystem over here. I'd
Okay.
say it's not what people are jumping on a lot, but yeah,
Yeah, it's huge here. It's growing.
it's huge there. I'd imagine it would be growing here at the same time because of those reasons. It's not something I've been a part of that ecosystem much in my past. So on LinkedIn, but very rarely. It's more our marketing team puts up content, and that's about it. So it becomes a bit of just a place to put content. That's what LinkedIn seems to feel like it is. And I'm not really on the Facebook side of things or anything overly social. So yeah, I wouldn't say I'm the best person to talk about Reddit. That's for sure. Yeah. But you can educate me today. Should be good
Well,
fun.
like, cause
Yeah.
it's at least in the US, like Reddit is the place where
Mm,
you like get real advice. Like it's not
mm,
someone trying to sell you,
mm.
because if you try to sell them, you'll get downvoted and you lose all your karma. And so you can't sell them. Like there's rules, right? And so you literally, people go there and they trust what people say more than anywhere else. And it's because of that police system. So when you go and you have all these people telling you real pain points, like their real feelings, you can see like their real emotions are coming out. They're asking, and like if you are able to use that for, like, for example, I've done what I call like pain point analysis, where let's say I have a brand that I'm working with and they want to launch a product. I would go and scrape Reddit for all their competitors, figure out all the things that they hate about the product. What do they dislike? What do they love? And then I like create a report and be like, all right, you should reposition your product to hit on these pain points because everyone's saying they hate this, this, and this. And then like in a certain situation, we'll like for Amazon, we'll like rewrite their listing to make sure we have those pain points. And so like everything is becoming more conversational, right? And it's like you're not really keyword stuffing as much anymore because you're trying to write it for the human. And so now you have this source where humans are talking, and you can mine it essentially and use it in however you want. And so that's like one example, but there's so many of them where like there's just this raw data that is real and authentic, and people are just not really using it right now.
Yeah, it's in terms of just that example that you've given will actually help with cut through for sure. When you look at a market and you're analyzing from perspective of what people are saying about specific, maybe it's an industry or a specific market or specific competitor brands, etc. If you're taking that data smartly and re-engineering it back to a way to communicate from a sales proposition, um, that's already enough value in itself, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, for sure. And even like on a service side, if you are, let's say you're a marketing agency and you're going after CMOs, and you maybe go after a subreddit like entrepreneur or something, and you filter for, anyone that's kind of like they're not going to say their title, but there's certain things that they'll say that will make them seem like they're in marketing leadership or something, right? And you start figuring out like, all right, what are all the pain points and things that they want, and then you can kind of like, oh, like everybody's saying they don't hire marketing agencies because of this and that. Let me make sure on my pitch deck that I hit that point on it. And so there's just so much information, and because literally it's just like it's just a source of so many things. I give another example is right now for AI content. The whole thing is like, and I kind of had this experience where I hate social media. I'm just going to be frank with you. I've never been a fan
I'm
of
not a
it.
big fan either, so we can agree to that, that's for sure.
Yeah. And so I was like, all right, I gotta get my LinkedIn like going, right? And I start writing some posts and nobody commented on it. And I was like, man, what the heck? Like, what am I doing this for? Like I spent 30 minutes on this post and nothing, right? And I was just like, all right, you know what? I'm about to automate this. I'm gonna get AI to write it. And I did some really like robust AI automation where it's like its own little digital brain. It had all my knowledge. It had like I transcribed all my videos and podcasts, and like it was like me, and it sounded just like me. And I was like automating it, and still no one was. So I was like, yeah, increasing the volume, right? And still no one. So I was like, all right, well, like how can I figure out how to to do it in scale, right? Where like you have to post so many times a day because there's so much noise out there, but you also have to make it authentic. And so like you're almost like I should write it myself, but I can't keep up with everybody else. And so there's just this weird like you can use AI, but you can't. And yeah, it's just I mean it's just hard, right? It's like almost impossible. And so I've been trying to figure out how I can write authentic using like a Claude writing style prompt. And I kind of came up with this like scientific approach of analyzing like Reddit, for example. I also do like comments like on certain YouTube videos or TikTok videos that I know my target audience is watching. I'll get all their comments too, and so you can get it from different places. And so I'll get the raw audience discussion data, and I'll start doing like frequency count of like, all right, how many times like the word choices they use, the phrases they use, and started like, all right, they use these types of words, they use these types of terms, and then I started getting a little more scientific. Like, all right, when people are pissed off, like what terms do they use, or when they're happy, what terms do they use? And then like on Reddit, they kind of have like a ranking system where it's called karma, where you can see like who has the most, usually is like the thought leader kind of in that area, because to have a lot of karma on Reddit, like you have to be given a lot of value. And so like figuring out like, all right, what does the top people in that that subreddit, how do they speak? And then how does people that are entry level, like people that don't, how do they speak? And kind of really using like language extraction to figure out the terms they use. And then so I did kind of that process, and then I created a writing style that I could put in Claude that almost mimics exactly like in a scientific approach how that ICP talks or how that audience talks. So then I can write content for them. People still don't comment, so I don't know. I don't know
People
what's
still don't
going on.
comment. I love
Yeah,
it.
but it
Yeah.
sounded like it. It sounded like them, but I just think social media is dead. So I'm really done with content at this point. But like even that situation, like rewriting like your landing pages, or like there's so many use cases for it. Yeah, I'm just not too happy with social media right.
I think it becomes more around posting on social, especially if you're talking about LinkedIn specifically. Yes. If you're on LinkedIn, all I found is the value of LinkedIn and putting posts out there is to just be front and center in your network. Commenting is very little. You don't get much of it unless you say something that's really drastic and out of the world of polarizing. That's what I've noticed. So if you want to go polarizing and make that choice and stand and in that noise, that's your choice. You can do that, but most people don't want to do that. They might something a little bit left or right, and that's about it. They won't go full extent. But if you, what we've found on LinkedIn, it's just being present, being there. So when you run into people in your network, I saw this, I saw that, you notice people talk about content that you put up, which is fascinating, but no one comments. Or very little do. And it's always similar people that comment. I think there's a lot of, you find out who spends more time on LinkedIn because you see people are liking more of your stuff, and it's generally the same type of people, which is fascinating in itself. But that's what I found on LinkedIn anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's almost like a portfolio now. I mean, it's always been kind of a portfolio, but it's like your social proof portfolio, right? Like you got to post just so that whenever someone like, "Oh, who is this?" they go look, there's something there and recent, but they're not going to
Yeah.
read it, right? So it's kind of like yeah, it's weird. It's like, why am I doing this again? And it's just like yeah, I feel like there's
It's
going to
so
be
much
something new.
noise out there. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We're all engaged in so much noise. There's email content that comes in. There's everything that's going on online. There's news. There's 101 things that people engage with socially. I'm not a big social person, so not overly engaged. I'll jump on LinkedIn here and there, but not overly. Most of our business and our marketing team drives it.
Yeah, and the same thing with like I did cold email too, and I did cold email in a very like everything I do is over the top, and so like I would scrape their information. I would use an LLM or AI to like go to their website, create segmentations like is it B2B or B2C. I would then like do like I had some additional data, like this was like an Amazon example. I had additional Amazon data for like their competitors, and I did this whole process where I actually created a Plotly dashboard that was custom with their data, and put it up on my server and embedded a custom dashboard in the cold email at scale. And I would even like the email was segmented still. So like in the dashboard, it'd be like, you are the bottom 40% of like your competitor, like say your competitors on, let's say like estimate revenue, and your top 20% on, and I would like segment the data out. And then the email would be something specific around that. Like for example, I'll go back to Amazon, is like, you don't have any video, like video ads, and you have more than 50 products. You should probably use video ads because you can market multiple products in one video ad, and that will help. And so like I filter the data to segment those people and embedded the dashboard in it, and then sent that kind of to them. People still didn't answer. I was like, man, what is going on? And it's like you said, there's just so much noise. It doesn't matter how amazing it is. They just be like, like cool dashboard, and they just keep
Have,
going. It's
have you tried this to use the data of direct marketing content and direct social marketing, Facebook marketing, etc.? Because I think that's where you're going to get more cut through, in my
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah. No, I haven't. I'm not in market. So like
Okay.
I was in. I jumped into marketing this year and started like, oh, like I know all this tech stuff. Let me try some cool, innovative stuff. But I don't have a marketing background, so I'm more like, this seems really cool, innovative. Let me throw this arrow, and it doesn't hit because I'm not marketing, right? And so like I like building the technology for it and then kind of testing it out. But I don't think like a marketer. I'm a tech person, so it's kind of a I feel like I'm more marketing technology than marketing. But yeah,
That's
it's a
okay, but I think it's fascinating what you're talking about here, though. Um, in terms of what cuts through really well from a marketing lens is core problems, speak the same way the person speaks, identify the problems pretty effectively. Here's our solution to those problems. And then all of a sudden, you've got an opportunity to draw some real good marketing, creative, and ads. Um, I would see what you're doing really positioned quite well in that space rather than just writing content. I think writing content is it's a slow grind. It is years of effort. It's not minutes of effort. It's years. It's not days. It's not months. It's years of continuously doing it. We've been running this podcast for content purposes, to give back to the network, to share, to garner ideas, insights from different people as to what possibilities might look like, or how you might consider different things, and even share startups' involvement and what's going on in the world of technology. And I was just on a podcast this morning with a more of a debt financing crew and how you might consider that rather than VC models. So how to just giving ideas to people that brings credibility to what we're doing and how we might share it. It's just really from us, it's a networking piece, but it's also an ability for us to share different types of content. It's just not about us, and I find that that helps. It helps the network. It helps the audience. It helps grow what we're doing from a business perspective, from a branding perspective. But I wouldn't just use what you're doing in the space of just sharing content. I think you'd be able to direct target quite effectively with what you're doing. It takes, in my mind, it takes years for a business to learn about these types of problems. If you can just, in terms of problems, I mean, what does the audience think? What are the real problems behind the problems that we need to get to that people are talking about? If you can distill that back into days, you can really find how to communicate. There's huge gold and value there. That's how I would frame this, using it from a marketing lens. Yeah.
and so I tried another thing that I think is very similar to what you're saying. I like because I like I said, not being in marketing, I'm just throwing out ideas, right? Like I have innovative ideas, technology, and skills to do it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna try it. My problem is more like I can't talk the language. Like when I talk to people, they're just like, I don't know what the hell you just said, right? And that's it's like really
Yeah.
like there would be one where I used like semantic search, and I thought like everyone knew what that was, and they were like, I don't know what that means. I was like, damn, really? It's just because like I just live in that world where I just don't talk the same language as others. So like that connection part, right? And so like what I did was for podcasts, I did a podcast also, but mine was more used to as like a pitch. So what I did was like let's say that same data. I would segment the data and be like, the same example. This person doesn't have video ads, and this person has a high number of products. I would do a podcast around that topic of like people that don't have video ads, and that, and I would create the podcast, I'll segment the data, and then I would send the podcast to those people that like, and so like it was kind of like, I know you have this problem, I know you have this pain point, here's a podcast solving it, hey, be my friend. That was kind of like how it was. And
Yeah,
then so
okay.
then I would like then I'll like create another I would like cut the data up, and I'll be like, all right, I want to go after these people, and then I'll create the podcast for that campaign, and then I'll publish the podcast and then send it to those people. And it was kind of like a little soft, like a little, and I wasn't trying to pitch them. It was more just like, hey, like I made this podcast. I know you got this problem. Here goes a podcast. You should listen to it. And just try to get people talking like that. Like just getting people to talk to you is really hard, right? And so like, I don't like, my goal is never even try to make a sale. Like I just want to make a, like have a conversation, and it's just almost impossible now. And it's just because there's so much. I mean, on LinkedIn, I can start the conversation, but everyone has their guards up. They're just like, "What you better sell me," and I'm just like, "Dude, I'm not even trying to sell you nothing." Right? And it's because
Mhm.
just of just how everything turned out. I'm the same way now. I'm just like, as soon as someone like, I hate it when on LinkedIn as soon as they add you, they try to pitch you something. I'm like, dude, do you want to like get to know me, or
Yeah, no, no, it's
like
all
I
about just the
automatically
sell, sell,
block
sell.
them. Yeah, I automatically block them. It's just, but it's just everything's a hard sell now. It's like I'm just trying to make relationships for people, and everyone's just like they're just got their guard up. Like I just want to like, and so it's really hard. And so like I'm trying to come up with different ways like that, and I thought that was a good angle. But once again, it's everyone's very guarded.
I would preface this or talk about it from this framework. If there's an ad that I'm looking at, I'm being sold and I know it, which is a positive. If I go on LinkedIn, I have my guard up, yes, and I'm getting DMs or direct messaging or whatever we call it, or just a message or in my inbox. I know that people are just trying to sell me. So um, there's a very different thing when you're looking at an ad compared to it's your choice. You're buying into that, so you can then relate to it or associate to it. When I'm on LinkedIn and just getting messages around, here, buy this thing. That's not why I'm here. This is the problem. So I think what you're doing, I would frame into direct ads, 100%. Because you're at least targeting and you will get a return. If you're talking about the problems in the right frame, marketing to the right people, you will get a return. You need to spend dollars to actually to understand what type of return you will get in which specific markets. But that's the angle that I think will work really well in terms of what you're doing for sure.
And are you doing a lot of ads right now? And which platforms are most?
We drive a lot of online ads. Yes, we do. Facebook, we do most of our advertising too. We're testing a few different markets right now. The vibe coding world is an interesting market for us. We're a technology provider. We also have our own stack that we've been building for a couple of years and learning about the space. So, from a market research angle, but we understand the problems and they're easy to cut through and actually direct leads, conversations are coming through. We're getting probably 6 to 8 leads a week out of marketing. Understand the problem, what the opportunities are, what the people. If once you understand a problem specifically enough and be able to communicate in the way that the audience gets it, you will get cut through. That's where the rubber hits the road, and have a solution to the problem at the same time. You need that. So I would be framing everything you're doing in the world of marketing, um, market research in my mind, and how you might drive new advertising or leads to your business or a lead gen framework. Have you productized any of this? We just cut it every time. How do you do it?
Yeah, well, I built a technology that I use internally. I've kind of started making it into a SaaS, but it's, be honest with you, I'm scraping places I shouldn't be, so I can't really like do it as like a real SaaS, but I'm doing kind of like partnerships with agencies type of thing, like under the table, right? Because like for example, like the Amazon one that I'm talking about, like I'm scraping Amazon Seller Central forms, and so that I know what Amazon brands are complaining about, and I'm adding that into a vector database and kind of like doing a system. So like I'm going out and getting data kind of wherever the people live and kind of like weaponizing it. And so I don't. I don't feel I tried to do a software company like 5 years ago and flopped because I didn't know the market. I was doing I did it was called Visual Survey, and I was had integrations with like SurveyMonkey and Qualtrics, and pretty much it was like an ETL process that they standardize their data and then they can use my Tableau dashboard templates, and it was just too techy for them. And it was like, to me, it was like, no, that makes sense. Like, do, 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 do. And they were like, dude, like, we're market researchers. We don't know what you're talking about. And so it didn't last too long. I mean, I got some paid people, but it was just, yeah, I just didn't know the market. I just didn't know how to deal with it. And so I'm kind of I just don't feel like doing all that again, right? So I'm kind of going like, all right, I'm gonna make tech tools and technologies for people to use. For example, like one of them for like ads, like what you do, I built so like a lead magnet where someone will put their email and like their Amazon product URL, and they'll hit go. What it'll do is it'll go to that product URL. It'll scrape the images, scrape the A plus page, which is like the nice pretty page at the bottom, scrape all the listings, scrape the reviews, and then I have a database full of Amazon products, and then it would go find the subcategory, grab all that data for that subcategory, do a competitive analysis, and then the LLM would analyze the images and say like, this is what you're doing right in your images, this is what you're doing wrong, and then it would email them back this like really nice kind of dashboard with like recommendations on like, this is what you should be doing for your product, this is what you should be doing for your images. And it's a free lead magnet, but like it gives you like, I mean, it gives you really good analysis
It's
because
amazing
I'm
what a lead magnet has become these days. It used to be a
yeah.
download of a little 3-page PDF or something. Yeah, it's changing significantly. Uh,
So like it's like people are like, dude, like you could sell this, right? Because it's so powerful, but it doesn't cost that much because once I build it, I can just scale it, right? But it's like I'm getting competitive data that they don't have. I'm using my frameworks and best practices for like what you should be doing on your listing and what you should be doing on your images, and they get this custom report, which is like a dashboard with data, and like it's super cool. And like you, so you can do some amazing things now with technology. I don't think white papers or anything working, or webinars are not work like, and so like you got to really like push the envelope
you
now.
got to push envelope, yeah. We have a lead magnet in our business, so we're a software consulting business, which is we started building a few years ago. It's evolving into our own product now, which is really internal only mostly. Um, which is idea all the way through to a product specification document in terms of how you might build a piece of tech. So we started giving away got an idea, run through a survey, it's AI supported, and it gives you a bit of a framework as to a reverse brief for your product, what your solution could look like, how to think about it, what your problems could be, a couple of things like that. Gives you quite a bit of value up front. And that became the starting point of, we use it for pre-sales. So talk to someone about a concept, pump it in there, get a bit of an output. Here's a pre-sale thing, put a deck together, job done. So it speeds up that process. But then it's gone into all the way through. It helps us consult in on a project. So it goes all the way through. It's co-creation. So we continuously build that. Hence why we've gone down the vibe coding world to look at what the problems are, because there's a massive amount of issues that are being created. People are getting 80% of the way there, but they're really not. They think they are, but they're not, because they're not really technical. So you're creating all this. There's a big issue in that space, in that world. There's a lot of money going around that space. So he's just looking at what the value proposition is and how do you communicate to it, and how you might position things a little bit differently. So that's the world we play.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious because I would consider I don't know if I'm a vibe coder or not, but like back when AI first, when ChatGPT first, I took like a Python class, so at least like I knew the fundamentals, right? Like I took a Udemy class, and I
If you've got some fundamentals, you're ahead of a lot of people,
yeah
because
yeah so
we speak to people that have got zero fundamentals or background, and they're just talking to a machine and expecting, oh, it said it did this. I go, really? Okay. Yeah, I had a conversation the other week with non-technical person, vibe coding, and he basically said, "Oh, I needed to get ISO certified, so I told the AI to certify my code for ISO 27001." I go, "Do you actually understand what ISO 27001 means? Because clearly that is not even possible." And then the AI said, "Yeah, I did it." That's just the reality is that people don't know what they're asking or what they're doing, and that's a problem. It's just blind leading the blind in some capacity. Yeah, that's what's going on in the world. Yeah,
I probably now I can't write code from scratch, right? But I
yeah.
know what I'm doing, right? Like so like I put the guardrails.
You got some structure. Yeah, you've got. Yeah, that helps.
Yeah, like I put hooks, like I use Cloud Code. So I put, hooks, and then I have to test it each. And then there's certain things where it's like I deal with big data. So like I tell it the logic. I'm like, all right, you're gonna scrape this, you're gonna save it as a CSV file, you'll batch it in the batches of 1,000, insert it, truncate the file, repeat, and like
Yeah, you're giving it structure and detail. If you don't give it that, then you're in a bit of pain. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, and then I know, and like now I used to get lazy and just be like, all right, do this, and then not check. But now I check every stage. Like stage one, all right, let me verify. Okay, good. Because there's been a few times where there've been data in the database, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm good. And I went back, and it just made up all the data and put it in there, and I was just like, what the hell, Claude? And it was like, oh, I'm sorry, and I'm just like, ah, see, now I got to really check you every time, and if you don't know what you're looking for, like you just yeah.
what are you doing? Yeah, and that's the problem in the space. That is the biggest issue right now. You're people that are being sold, and this is the type of feedback we're getting. Another one that came through our lead funnel basically said, "It's like I'm feeding a poker machine. I put money in." And I don't get anything out, and there's just no return. But I'm hoping that something comes. It's like, but I've got no technical context. Like,
That is
it's
very
just tough. Yeah, they're just being sold a pipe dream. Yes.
yeah, and especially if you don't when I first started, I like now I have a hook where it has to do commit every time. And before I didn't, and like it would mess up and I'd be like, no, go back, go back. And I'll just yell at her like, no, that's messed up. And like if I didn't commit, then it can't go back, right? And so now it's like it's just rewriting code after code, and I'm just like, I don't know if I'm gonna get it back anymore, right? Because it doesn't save or it deletes files on accident. And I'm just like, what? No, I didn't tell you to delete. I told you to move. And yeah, it's there's been some frustrating times. But I believe it's amazing. It's just you have to go to the next level. Like you have to understand what it's doing, or else you're just gonna waste time.
Yeah,
It's
burn lots of time, and people, yeah, that's what we're seeing in the space. A lot of people are burning time and not realizing that they're pretty much going around in circles. Yeah, yeah, that's what's really happening. So,
it's an interesting market. It's an interesting market. What I guess what is your kind of main service that you're giving out?
we're looking at auditing code audits. Then, how do you close the gap on getting to an MVP? Is it really possible with what you have? So that's where we're driving it. We're a software technology company. We've got 50 plus employees and team members across the business, and are building a lot of custom code business tools. But just investigating that space and just really getting a handle on what's going on. Given that we've invested our own AI sort of solution, and we are going down the world of how that supports our development environments, um, we're looking at it from a different tack on how do we just drive context to support AI and get really granular in the way we're doing things. So we're investing heavily in that part of our technology internally in terms of what we're doing to drive outcomes in the business, and then looking at what other people are doing and what some of these more bigger names of the world, the Lovables, the Replets, the Base 64 a little bit, we see a little bit, and the Cursors and Kleins and things like that are doing out there.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I had one of my client. He did market research, and I analyzed his survey data, and I was just like, hey man, like let me just install PyCharm on your computer. Let me set up Claude Code for you. I'm gonna make the CSV file standard, put it in there, and just do like a very simple like setup for. I think I use Dash. And then I was just I showed him like 30, 45 minutes, and then let him like, and then I like, and then I didn't hear from him for like 2 weeks. And he was just like, Tyler, like, thank you so much. Like, this has changed everything for me. I've been able to do analysis I've never been able to do like that. And he was just like so grateful. Like, and it was just like, it took me an hour to probably set him up and show him the ropes a little bit. But he was like, I'm doing things I never can do before. I never had time. I never had that. Like, and he was just like literally, he was just like, man, you changed my life. Like at that level, like he was that like humble and that, like, it's because yeah, it's just, it can do crazy stuff.
Yeah. Oh, it's fascinating what technology do. And what you're trying to do in terms of data, I think, is quite there's huge opportunity in this space. It's market research that's driving to sales. People spend money on sales and marketing, and how do we drive more revenue? That's where always people spend money. So I'll be thinking about how you position it in a way where it's more market research heavy. That's how I would consider your product, or not product, what your service offering is, and then maybe how you might productize in a different way. But yeah, exciting stuff in what you're up to, Tyler. It's
Cool, man.
yeah,
Appreciate
fascinating
it.
as to what you're
It's fun for
trying and
sure.
engaging. Our reality is when we're all trying new things and looking at ways we can add value and create value. And what you're up to, I think you're on a path to creating some interesting value. It's maybe the output of what you're doing is probably try different angles of that. I think marketing would make a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
It's just yeah, it's just packaging. Packaging is always the hardest part, right?
It can be. It can be. Tyler, I'm going to cut it there. Thanks for joining us on the DevReady podcast. It's been a lot of fun. Just a nice little conversation around how we can use tech in different ways, and what some of the things you're learning across the way, and how we can drive into Reddit and different data, big data sets, and really drive some outcomes in terms of business outcomes, and how we might promote ourselves and learn about what the market's doing. Thanks for
Yeah,
joining
thanks,
us,
man.
and appreciate your time.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.